You gosh darn right we're alive on a Friday. Orange and blue today. Technical
Live.
difficulties are always fun, Mace.
Yes, live eventually.
Eventually, we'll get here. Only took us about 20 minutes, but we're here, right? We're back.
Well, if worst came to worst, we got Saturday's show already ready for you.
Ready to go and ready to talk about the Denver Broncos on a Friday. Talking about Jaleel McLaughlin specifically. This show is about Jaleel. And is he the answer for the Denver Broncos? That's where we'll start the conversation today, Mace. Because, you know, against the Colts, you can run on them. They have been better against the run. People don't look at year-long stats. Look at the last 4 weeks. They've been better, but man, if you could get the ground game going before the postseason, as Vic Fangio would say, that'd be nice.
Ground game and defense, these things travel, and the Broncos, if they are a postseason team, will have to go on the road at least once, and most likely for every playoff game they have, no matter how long they last in the postseason. So for that reason, you got to get it going. For reasons of supporting Bo Nix, you've got to get it going. I mean, we'll go all the way back to April when Sean Payton answered my question on draft night by saying the two things that can help the rookie quarterback the most are the run game and defense. And for most of the year, the Broncos have made a good acquittal of themselves in both areas, run game and defense. Run game could be better, certainly. It's been inconsistent. And now you're in the three-headed monster, which, you know what, Sean Payton acknowledges he has some trouble, handling in terms of getting everybody enough opportunities.
Yeah, and that's something to start with. Let's start on Payton on the three running backs before we get into more Jaleel talk. We got Adam Troutman talking about Jaleel as well. But this three running back conversation, it sends a message, I think, that maybe Chatty Sean wasn't ready to say.
I just think when you look at the carries, look, these guys are really featuring one running back. You know, in other words, so that's easier to do, but there's just not enough snaps. Now there are games where you end up playing the third back maybe because of injury but yeah, I just think, look, and all of them need something to get going in a rhythm, in fairness to what they all, they're used to playing. And so it's hard to evaluate Javonte or Audric, on 4 touches, and so we'll keep working through that though.
Keep working through. And he said the word evaluate. Mace, I think it's important over these next 4 games, one, to make the playoffs, okay, secure your playoff berth, but also get a longer look at Audric Estime. You're going to have a decision to make in the first couple of rounds of the draft on where you want a running back. Well, maybe Estime is so good with more than 4 touches a game where you go, you know what, let's take a day 3 running back instead of a day 1 or day 2 running back.
Well, look at the wide receiver position. Aren't we already in the realm where we're reevaluating when you add a receiver, because we've seen Courtland Sutton really become a good wide receiver one working with Bo Nix in the last several weeks, and we've seen Devon Vele live up to that promise of being what Tim Patrick could be, the comp that the Broncos have had for him since day one, and having Tim Patrick-like production as a number 2 working opposite of Courtland Sutton. So you're getting some answers that I think have maybe moved wide receiver down the priority list when you head into the draft. So why not get a look at Audric Estime when it's not like he's less effective than Javonte Williams at this point? Now, that being said, the most effective of the 3 in the last few games has been Jaleel McLaughlin. So your priority being to win, if Jaleel continues to be the most effective, you keep feeding him for as long as you can. But that being said, it doesn't mean you can't give Audric enough touches to get a look and see if he can't be the hot hand in the way that he was the hot hand in Kansas City last month.
Yeah, the way he was the hot hand, continue to work that forward, and then maybe go to Audric faster, right? Because for me, like it's difficult when it's first Javonte, and then it's Jaleel, and then Jaleel's hot, and then Audric doesn't get anything. So it's like, well, can't you just kind of cut Javonte out of the mix or put him third? Sean said it like, hey, getting that third guy is sometimes difficult. Well, what if your third guy was Javonte? Or what if your closer was Javonte? What if your Samaje Perine essentially was Javonte? Then that would give Audric a chance, give Jaleel the chance. If he's hot, great. If he's not, see what Audric can do. And if Audric, it's like the meat lovers pizza in the trunk.
Yeah.
If Jaleel and Audric aren't hot, then maybe Javonte is.
It's the meat lovers pizza in the trunk, or it's the frozen Chinese food that you keep behind your tire in the parking garage so that when you land, you can have a meal waiting for you.
Yeah. That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Do you know that story?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yep. It's our buddy Chris, man.
That's Chris. That's our friend Chris Thomason right there.
That's what Chris does, man. That's what makes Chris one of a kind. That's for sure. But the chat room saying free Audric Estime. Yeah. See what the kid can do, man. It could change your draft structure, much in the way that Devon Vele and Marvin Mims have changed your ideas about your wide receivers. You got rid of Josh Reynolds because of Mims and Vele doing more.
Exactly. I mean, you've already made a decision for a player who early on in the season looked like he was pretty well valued and a key contributor before he landed on injured reserve when he fractured his finger. And then, of course, had the moment where he was shot and miraculously survived. But, it's tough. It's a tough business, right? You've got, the train keeps on moving even when you're left at the station. And then when you're finally able to catch it, Devon Vele's taking your job, basically. And Marvin Mims Jr., they figured out a role for him, which involves learning running back, tight end, wide receiver, and sitting in on meetings for all three. Then there was no room at the end. And, of course, the other thing, it does factor in with running back as well, to go back to the original point of this, because if you used an elevation from injured reserve on Josh Reynolds, that was one fewer activation that you'd have that you might need on Tyler Bidet, who Tyler Bidet might be the meat lovers pizza in the trunk here.
Yes.
As far as if you can't figure out the answer in the next couple of games, if you can't consolidate this down to where you've got a working duo, perhaps, do you give Bidet another look? Because he did show signs of that. And in fact, if he doesn't injure his back against the Jets, the way the Broncos game plan was looking early in that game, it looked like he was going to be RB1 before he got injured. He was getting his shot.
Yep. He was going to get a shot, and he might have not given the job up. If we live in that what-if realm, Tyler Bidet could have done more. Sean Payton, though, talking about Jaleel and hard to get to three running backs. It's a longer clip, but everyone listen, because you can tell, Sean's thinking about this a lot.
Well, he can handle more, and I think he's doing more in the passing game. I don't ever want to put, because I think height is one thing, but he's put together, and so when we evaluate running backs, we don't have a prototype for height. Now, we have it for legs, lower body, and how they're built, but our history in this league has shown us over the years that that position's not necessarily built with a prototype for height. I think his role, he's as focused a player and as hardworking as anyone here. And so, there are guys when the game ends, I'm like, I got to get him more touches. That's a challenge. But I don't think, I think there's certainly a pitch count for all those guys. I've said this before, 2 is easy. 3, it's just hard to feed 3.
He's thinking about it, Mace.
Yeah. I think he was even thinking about it in the course of answering that question, the way his mind was processing it. And I'm curious to see the game plan and curious to see how they're used. I mean, the Broncos, Sean Payton mentioned earlier this week, they don't do the whole self-scouting thing when it comes to the bye week because that's ongoing. That's kind of an old thing that you'd self-scout over the bye, but he says, hey, we've got the data points always coming in, so we're always self-scouting. But you have a little bit of time to kind of ponder your game plan. So in that regard, you can usually still expect a tweak or two. And I wonder if that tweak is going to revolve around the running back rotation.
It should. It should revolve around that because it hasn't worked to the full effectiveness. Now, against the Colts, over 100, and if you could push that number towards 150 as a team, that would be fine. It has been 30 games since they had a 100-yard rusher. Be nice to get that one done. But I'm not expecting too much, Mace, as they kind of work out the kinks. Again, I want Audric to get, more of a chance just to see, because maybe next year you don't have to take a running back as high as I think you need to have to take a running back. But we won't know unless he gets more work. So it's a work in progress, shall we say. What did Adam Troutman say about Jaleel? I was there, but let's talk about Troutman talking about Jaleel McLaughlin. You want to set that up, Mace?
Play the clip.
I think he's always been ready for it. He's someone who obviously works really hard. He's in here probably before anyone else, I'd have to say. He's in here super early in the morning, always working on his stuff, always watching film. He's here late. So obviously it's just sometimes it's a matter of your plays just working when you're in there, to be honest. And they've worked out well, and he's obviously created a bunch of plays as well when they haven't been there.
128 rushing yards in the last two games for Jaleel McLaughlin, including 84 against Cleveland a couple of Monday nights ago. It has worked out well for him the last couple of games. He's been the most effective. He's capitalized on his opportunities, and was hot handed. One week it was Audric Estime, one week it was Javonte Williams, and then it was Jaleel McLaughlin in Las Vegas, and then. The reason why I think you're kind of revisiting things with Jaleel McLaughlin in terms of what his use is going to be going forward and whether he does kind of emerge here is because you did 4 weeks of the hot hand, and in 2 of them he emerges the hot hand, and specifically in back-to-back games. So now it's like, okay, maybe this is the direction we go in because we've played this hot hand thing out for a month, and half the time he was the guy who emerged. So is that enough to where you say, okay, there's a pattern developing. Let's craft a game plan that involves a little more of him intentionally than we were before all this.
Yep. And yeah, there you go, Mace. There you go. How you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm glad we got this show in eventually.
Yeah, I'm glad too as well. And now I'm trying to figure out how to get DST to Dante. So we're gonna have to wrap up this one.
You got to get this show
thing, or else we're gonna have to be in studio in an hour.
Go.
Because I don't have a brick anymore because Brandon Stokely couldn't get out on his driveway.
Easy. This isn't Festivus. We're not airing grievances today.
Where's the metal pole at? Don't we need the metal pole for that?
I've got one somewhere.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's in storage. I haven't pulled it out yet. I gotta get it. Festivus is back. I'll get the pole from the crawl space. No ornaments, no tinsel. He finds tinsel distracting.
Tinsel is distracting. Would you like a current number before we're out of here?
Yes, please.
15,980.
20. We are down to 20 to go. Garrison Hurst, number 20. For the Broncos, I believe, back 20 years ago.
Mike Bell, right? Is that right? Was Mike Bell 20? If I'm misremembering that?
I believe so. 20, yes. Mike Bell was number 20. I think Duke Dawson a couple of years ago, was he number 20, I believe, for a little bit?
I believe so, yep.
Let's go back through 20s in Broncos history.
Greg Lewis? Was Greg Lewis 20?
Yeah, and of course, there's one great 20 in Broncos history. One. One great 20. Louis Wright.
Of course.
Louis
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
And then Brian Dawkins. Then Duke Dawson. Greg Lewis was number 20. Marlon McCree for 1 year. Garrison Hurst for 1 year. Michael Burton, number 20. And your scorecard, number 1 in your heart.
I like it.
Yep. But yeah, Louis Wright subscribers to go until when are we going to do? When will the After Dark show be? Might not be on the day we hit 16,000. We just promise you an After Dark show. That's
Yeah, we'll stick and move with it. And hell, my Christmas bonus might have to go towards a new computer, unfortunately.
All right.
So there we
But
go.
thanks for the help. Keep helping us out. Those of you who aren't subscribing, help us get over the goal line here, just like the Broncos are trying to get over the goal line and be a playoff team for the first time since the 2015 season. And you can do that by liking,
Commenting,
sharing,
subscribing,
and hitting that notification bell.
so that you
Never
never miss
miss
a vid.
vid.
That's right. He's Andrew Mason. Follow
Sorry.
him on all the socials. All real. All real. Follow him on the socials at Mace Denver. Matt Cecil, Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Watch Saturday to our pregame show. Stay tuned and stay frosty.